Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi Liana. Hope everyone is having a good Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for joining us on this live session. This is in fact our meaning Malaysian Freedom Movement's third live session. Just a quick introduction. I am Grace, and along with me today is Liana. We are from Malaysian Freedom Movement. Just a quick background on the movement. The Malaysian Freedom Movement was founded on the principles of freedom, choice, and self-determination. We are actually a decentralized group, basically just a bunch of folks advocating freedom and more importantly, freedom of choice for all Malaysians. And just to dispel any misconceptions, we are not pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine or pro or anti-whatever. We are all about free and informed choices without coercion. So today we will be speaking about medical freedom in Malaysia, fact or fiction, or Fakta or Auta. It's a very, very important topic, especially in view of what is happening in the world we live in today and how one's decision should be backed by information instead of coercion in any way, shape, or form. And the center of today's discussion will also cover how one's choice should not determine or limit the individual's right to continue to enjoy freedom of movement, access to public amenities, medical treatments, etc., etc. So as you can see, a lot of things to unpack this afternoon. Fortunately, we have our good Dr. Roland Victor in the house this afternoon to help us navigate through this very interesting discussion. Dr. Roland needs no introduction, I believe, but for the benefit of our audience, Dr. Roland is a co-founder of the KL Sky Clinic. He's been in a practice for over a decade. He believes in a unique and holistic approach where prevention is better than cure. And if you follow Dr. Roland on social media, you would know that he's one of the very few who stands up and speaks up for the truth in the context of medical and medical matters, so to speak. You know, this is in stark contrast to many others who would rather coerce or you know, rather than to help an individual make informed choices. So yeah, that's just a bit of an introduction from me for today. And Diana would start with a few questions, which we would be discussing with Dr. Roland. Thanks, Dr. Roland, again for having us.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you for having myself here present in the Malaysian Freedom Movement. I'm pretty excited to be here since you all have actually interviewed many interesting people before this, and I'm privileged to be part of this discussion today.
Yeah, thanks Doktor kerana sudi meluangkan masa bersama kami. So tanpa membaca masa, I'm going to start with the first question. Okay. Dok, saya masa awal start pandemik dulu, seingat saya lah doktor seorang je yang memang lantang bersuara secara terbuka tentang mempersoalkan keselamatan vaksin dalam pada jangka masa yang panjang. Jadi saya tak rasa doktor seorang lah berfikiran macam ni, tapi kenapa doktor saja seorang bersuara? Mana suara-suara doktor-doktor lain?
Itu satu soalan yang quite panas lah. So bagi saya, I think kalau kita rujuk kepada all our content yang kita keluarkan pada social media, I think kita lah antara klinik yang pertama sekali yang keluarkan konten pasal COVID-19 ni. Pada awal bulan Januari pun 2020, kami sebagai klinik yang terletak dekat Kuala Lumpur, tengah-tengah kota, kami akan dihijrahi dengan banyak pelancong asing, terutama sekali pada waktu-waktu cuti tahunan, end of year, Christmas sampai Chinese New Year tu banyak sangat orang, dan kita dah ambil maklum dah. Ada satu virus yang tengah berlegar di negara China, and kemasukan pelancong China ke Malaysia sangat tinggi. And sebagai klinik yang memang melihat pasien-pasien yang di hotel dan juga yang datang melawat masuk, mungkin ada simptom-simptom bergejala macam demam dan semua, kita dah ambil maklum dah. So I think our journey dalam isu ni bukan bermula saja pada part vaksin saja. Dari segi implikasi kekangan pandemik pada awalnya pun kami dah ketengahkan dah. Kita dah mula bersuara, kita kena cepat untuk pastikan kita dapat kekang penularan dan juga untuk pastikan keselamatan warga awam walaupun asing ke ataupun tempatan tidak harus dipandang enteng lah. So bila mungkin pada waktu ramai yang mungkin nampak beberapa video saya yang tular berkenaan dengan kesangsian ataupun kebaikan ataupun keburukan vaksin, apa yang saya cuba ketengahkan ialah keselamatan dan juga informed consent. Maksudnya, apa yang dimaksudkan sebagai informed consent membawa maksud apa-apa isu berkait dengan vaksin tu, sama ada dia membantu menurunkan gejala, membantu menurunkan kes, membantu menurunkan kemasukan hospital, harus diberitahu secara telus, not filtered. Bila not filtered ni sebenarnya, so kita dapat informed consent. Jadi segala risk factor diketengahkan. Tapi apa yang malang sekali saya lihat ialah kebanyakan risk factor pada kritik itu dicuba filter ataupun filter dia. Mungkin ada gejala-gejala yang mungkin lebih serius ataupun kronik, mungkin tidak diketengahkan. Dan mungkin pengalaman saya bekerja dengan KKM dulu, saya tahu mana nak akses, saya tahu macam nak taksirkan all this information. Mungkin saya bersyukurlah bukan setakat kerja dari segi bahagian klinikal saja. Saya pernah kerja dalam bahagian pentadbiran, everything. So I know how to access this information and cipher it. So that's.
Are you saying doktor-doktor lain tak ada akses pada info?
No, I don't say they don't have the access. They all have the access. They all have the access. Everybody has access to information. And information today is not macam 10 years ago. Kita punya access pada information berterusan. And disebabkan terlampau banyak information, dia macam ada information super highway ni, kita akan dapat juga berita yang telus, berita yang separuh masak dan berita palsu. Saya tak nampak nafikan kebanyakan ada information yang datang pun yang share dalam WhatsApp, dalam Telegram, YouTube. Ada yang memang not right information pun. Tapi dibenarkan juga. So I think what we were to stand out for was at that point was to actually tell the public that, hey, you boleh access all this document and you boleh baca sendiri. Sebab dokumen-dokumen tu yang dikatakan masa you pergi ambil tu were not matching. Tak sama dengan apa yang dibagi tahu.
Is this sebab benda ni ke hari tu doktor dipanggil ke balai polis?
Yes.
Beri keterangan?
Yes.
Apa isu dia? Apa isu dia sebenarnya?
Sampai hari ni saya pun tak tahu apa isu dia. Tapi saya telah disabitkan dengan kesalahan dalam akta komunikasi dan multimedia. Kesalahan saya tu dikatakanlah, tapi saya mengaku tidak bersalah lah. So akan dibawa untuk dibicara.
Dok, boleh tak cerita apa benda yang Dok cerita sebenarnya dalam video tu yang terlalu sensitif sampai dia kata dah langgar akta?
Honestly, I don't know. We are still waiting for the information from them. So when kita dapat semua information, baru kita boleh tahu. So bagi saya, bila saya kupas video tu, saya rasa tak ada apa-apa pun. This is much more of a scientific punya discussion. And the choice of understanding risk factors, the choice of taking vaccine goes down to the people yang faham benefit dan keberkesanan vaksin tu. So that is one thing yang you must understand lah. There is choice. Everything akan ada pro-choice and there are benefits, and kita kena faham sains ni sentiasa bertukar. And some people claim that I'm against the vaccine, but for us we are always on a neutral ground. We will always have to read the science. When the science is ready to accept, we will have to accept, and that is the truth. Because there is no such thing as static science. Science ni sentiasa akan ada perubahan, dan kita terpaksa adapt to the change.
So doktor, nak beralih kepada salinan consent letter. Sebelum setiap orang pergi cucuk vaksin ni, dia kena sign consent letter ni. Jadi saya tertarik dengan clause yang disertakan di sini. Sebelum kita tanda tangan untuk kata kita bersetuju atau tidak bersetuju, kita diminta untuk bersetuju mengatakan yang kita faham, number one, pengambilan vaksin ni mungkin akan menimbulkan side effects. Number two, kita bertanggungjawab sepenuhnya ke atas risiko yang mungkin berlaku daripada mengambil vaksin. Tapi kita still, dalam dia kata, kita masih merasakan manfaat vaksin adalah jauh lebih baik daripada kesan sampingannya. Lepas tu yang ketiga, kita cakap kita kena setuju yang vaksin ini tidak memberi jaminan yang saya akan tidak akan dijangkiti COVID atau menjangkiti orang lain. Dan yang keempat, saya bersetuju dan rela hati untuk mengambil semua dos vaksin seperti yang telah dijadualkan. Jadi based on this, wajarkah kita pada hari ini untuk terus percaya bulat-bulat naratif arus perdana tentang vaksin ni tanpa membuat sebarang kajian sendiri, dengar all sides sebelum kita buat keputusan untuk sama ada mengambilnya atau tidak. Ulasan Doktor.
Okay, so bila kita lihat kepada this statement, so this is a consent form, that is a standard consent form. So people kena faham, even kalau anda pergi untuk buat satu pembedahan, you terpaksa sign consent. Katakan you buat satu pembedahan abdomen, mungkin ada cyst ke, ada ketumbuhan ke, nak buat pembedahan usus. Consent tu akan diterangkan kepada oleh doktor bedah ataupun doktor MO dekat hospital ke, kerajaan ke swasta, akan diberitahu semua risk yang mungkin ada. Okay, pembedahan ni dibuat untuk kita nak remove ketumbuhan ni, mungkin saiz dia 5 cm darab 10 cm dekat lokasi ni, and saya adalah doktor bedah yang bertauliah, and I know how to do this surgery in the best knowledge possible at that point. Okay, tapi akan ada juga possible risk factors. Mungkin masa you buat surgery tu mungkin ada anaphylactic shock, ataupun ada something else they found out and maybe it's too complicated, and that complication tu menyebabkan ada kematian. That possibility is there. Tapi itu based on the discretion of the surgeon and how skilled he is and everything. So even when it comes to any medicine, setiap ubat tu pun akan ada leaflet dia sendiri dalam setiap dia ada medical insert dia, the pharmaceutical insert, apa jenis ubat tu, ubat ni buat macam mana, apa kajian dia buat, apa risk factor and everything ada. So that is the thing yang saya selalu titik beratkan. Informasi yang ditertera ataupun terpampang dalam vaksin insert ataupun drug insert tu terpaksa kena matching dengan apa sekalipun. So walaupun ada beberapa risk factor yang mungkin ada satu dalam 100,000 atau satu dalam 10,000 harus dimaklumkan, because that is the possibility. The possibility of people dying from a surgery is there. So you cannot say that no. Worst case scenario ni je berlaku. Tapi tiba-tiba patient tu mati. So macam
I mean it's a common knowledge. Memang kita
exactly.
tahu. Macam contohnya vaksin Pfizer, dia tak ada fakta keselamatan vaksin yang lengkap. Dan
okay, go on. Let me answer.
And kita tak ada daripada pihak Pfizer fakta tentang peringkat mana dah ni percubaan vaksin yang diorang sedang buat. So macam banyak ketidakpastian tau. Kami sebagai pengguna nak komit kepada benda ni.
Okay. So you have some points which are right and some points mungkin I kena re-inform balik. So when drug sekarang ni ia dalam emergency use authorization, dia gunakan dalam satu situasi bencana. Because tak ada waktu kita nak tunggu for the vaccine to fully work, we're going to waste time. So the reason why kebanyakan country ambil keputusan untuk use emergency use authorization is because dia nak cuba kekang pandemik itu secepat yang boleh. So this is what we call as a scientific macam gamble lah. Kita terpaksa, kita dah buat third stage clinical trial and see, okay, can we proceed or not? Is it safe enough or not? Okay, there will be some risk factors. And bila kita tengok kepada yang recent FDA update pun kepada mRNA vaksin yang dikatakan tadi, there is penambahan risk factor yang baru, macam ada myocarditis and everything. So as they go along the months, kalau mereka nampak ada apa-apa simptom-simptom baru, mereka akan tambahkan ini ada gejala-gejala baru yang dikenal pasti yang dikaitkan dengan vaksin. So even dalam vaksin insert dia kata, dan saya bersetuju dengan the statement, does the vaccine improve the outcome? And it's more beneficial to vaccinate than the risk factor. It's in the real world data, it's yes. That means, have we seen the numbers of cases dekat negara-negara yang telah vaccinate yang almost reach 80%, 90%, the case dropping? Yes. Is the hospitalizations dropping? Yes. But then comes another issue that now we're going to start seeing. Is it the pandemic of the unvaccinated or the pandemic of the vaccinated? These are things that kita tak boleh jawab today pun. We have to wait for another few months to see. As we dwindle down, masuk ke dalam hujung tahun, bila musim sejuk datang, we will start looking at all of that. And then we have to see that, okay, ada tak kes-kes menaik? Macam ada case tadi daripada Israel, tiba-tiba yang berjaya like 97% over vaccinated pun ada breakout. Ada variant baru, ada all of these things are coming. So all of this kind of information is constant. And this is what we call as, this is the real world science lah. Is the vaccination helping? Yes. Is there side effects? Yes. How many people are having side effect? How many percent? So this is macam seolah-olah you pergi ke dalam satu situasi perang ataupun pertempuran. You keluar, you hantar tentera you, andai kata tentera you lah rakyat, and bertempur. Ada tak orang akan ada casualty? Ada tak memang akan mati? Yes. Ada tak akan ada lumpuh? Ada tak? Ada akan hilang anggota badan? Yes. So that is the casualty. And that brings us to another position of how protected is our system to protect these victims, victims, casualties from the vaccination. So when that is not seen best, that kita tak protect golongan atau kita macam just buat tak tahu je, that becomes a problem because there's no proper protection for the public who willingly pun go and get the thing. So until today we never seen that how many AEFI yang published and what support they got, what kind of treatment they are getting. Because we realize that there is an absolute blanket on social media for any form of crisis in regards to any vaccine injuries, vaccine fatalities. Kita nampak benda tu, dapat je terus kena block, kena ban 30 days warning and stuff like that. Individuals are getting all of this kind of discrimination, which is not right lah, because when you vaccinate at a very high speed, bila kita buat vaksinasi dengan kadar yang sangat-sangat laju di seluruh dunia, this will happen. This will happen. So you need to make sure the protection is also very important.
Doctor, you raised an important point about the AEFI data, the lack of transparency in Malaysia, right? So I mean, we are aware that there is this channel for us or for those who have been vaccinated to actually report any adverse effects following immunization or following the vaccinations, right? To make a report through the AEFI. But what we are not seeing is that there is no data coming out from or being shared by the Ministry of Health, or KKM. And is that something which is concerning? Because I mean, if we compare the likes of say the UK or the US, they have the yellow card and they have the VAER, various in short.
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, our question is that if the vaccination is safe, if this drug is safe, then why isn't there a transparency in the dissemination of information for this adverse effect reports?
Okay.
Because I think that's important, because that would actually quell any fear mongering, so to speak. Now if you go into Telegram, you will see that there are groups just churning out this information, whether it's substantiated or not. I think it's the government is obliged to arrest or to address this issue by making this data transparent. What are your thoughts on this, Doctor?
I think you're absolutely right based on that. When we look into the AFI cases, we cannot deny there's no AFI. Honestly, we have seen, we have heard, it's discussed among a lot of peers, especially in the non-governmental practice, private practice. For us, there are more allowance to actually speak about the AFI compared to government doctors who have to be adhered to the government guideline, because that's one thing. One more thing, we have to look at this as a double-edged sword also. among the committee. There will be one committee who wants the absolute transparency. On another side, they also have a look at that. Would that AFIs hinder vaccination? Hinder vaccination. It's almost like sometimes we say like there is certain like security acts, secrecy acts. We do not know what happens into our waters, but the public has to know every time there's an invasion of a plane or a submarine pass by, and everybody gets alert. You got to shoot the panic button, because if the AFI cases are as low as even 0.1%, and you're vaccinating at 500,000 people a day, that means that 500 people are going to go blasting out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and everything, and that is then duplicated again in multiple platforms, and that can also cause it's a truth story, but would it cause a lot of hesitancy? Then that's also another one more thing that we have to calculate the risk factor. We want to get the vaccination up, but at the same time, you want to reduce that. But again, I will still stand for the pure honesty that if there is a case, then there was a person out there who had a vaccine injury or had some issues in the gut, they have to first report. They have to report, not just go online and just like blast out. Report, so there's an official complaint, so that the officials can also look at it, one. And at the same time, if they choose to share their story, they should not be discriminated online by the platforms itself, because that is a legit injury that they have, and they should be investigated and check and see why is it happening, and they should get as fast as possible treatment to manage their issue.
So, can you enlighten us? Memang ada ke channel rasmi untuk mangsa-mangsa
Yes,
untuk
yes,
menyampaikan?
because I think in the MySejahtera itself that you can already make complaints. You have to report if there's a death or there's a certain type of symptom that you're having after vaccination. You should report, because that's where even in the beer system, the yellow card system, some practitioners in the US now claim the reporting is underreported by at least 90%. If you have like 10 deaths, maybe the deaths is 9-folds of that. That's also seen, because people come to the physicians and complain unless the physicians have to take that and they complain if it's a serious injury and stuff like that.
Okay, I want to share a personal story of a friend of a friend, which I think falls under category keganasan obstetric violence.
Keganasan.
I mean, nak translate kepada bahasa Malaysia, obstetric violence.
Okay.
Keganasan obstetric lah kot. Ya. Jadi berlaku dekat satu hospital besar kerajaan tak lama, beberapa minggu lepas. Ada seorang ibu mengandung ni, dia dah nak terberanak kan. Dia dah dalam labor. Ya. Lepas tu dia dipaksa untuk mengambil suntikan COVID. Sedangkan dia tak bersedia lagi, so mungkin dipikir lepas beranak ke apa kan. Sampaikan doktor tu cakap, kalau awak enggan, saya tak akan bagi awak epidural dan saya tak dapat nak masukkan awak ke bilik ward. Jadi dalam keadaan yang tertekan tu, dia kata okey, tak tahan, bagi cucuklah saya. Jadi sebab tu sekarang ni dia tengah berpantang, dia trauma gila daripada experience ni. Jadi berdasarkan pengalaman buruk individu tersebut, macam mana benda ni boleh masuk dengan boleh adakah dia selari dengan falsafah medical, prinsip medical di mana orang tu boleh membuat free and informed consent without duress or coercion. Macam mana ini selari dengan Hippocratic Oath seorang doktor?
So memang on that kind of, based on that kind of story, kalau kita dengar pun we know that clearly we do not have that kind of power, and we should not abuse our power, especially when the patient is in a critical state on labor position. The stress is very high. They do not want to actually cooperate with anything because the pain threshold is enormous, and I think no one should be forced, especially at that point, because in vaccinating at that position means nothing at all. We're not going to develop any form of antibodies in that in that moment and in that position. So when that happens, I clearly feel that patients should be given their right to refuse and reconsider the vaccination maybe after the delivery or after confinement. And also we need to see that when people are offered this, we need to see what is their risk factor. This is a purely basic clinical judgment that we need to make, because we have patients who come with anaphylactic shock, multiple sclerosis, and maybe they do not belong to the category of where you want to create this position of herd immunity, which a lot of epidemiological professors, top ones in the world, have said that it is impossible to achieve this herd immunity at this moment in a globalized world. It is not practical enough. So forcing that is either just to please one's KPI or one's logbook that they have converted people to force to be vaccinated at that point. So I think that's not right. But we should always give patients to actually give them their own consent, their own willingness to come forward and after they understand the risk. Because whatever is risky for you might not be risky for another person. For one person, maybe like the guy who climbs up buildings, it's okay for him to climb up KLCC without any safety harness. It's skill trained to do that. But it's not going to be for me or for yourself. So that is risk is going to be very different for each one of us.
Doctor, since we're on this topic, right? I'd like to hear your opinion on patients who have been turned away from obtaining medical treatment because of their vaccination history, right? So whether they've been vaccinated or not, should they be turned away? Should they be deprived from getting access to medical treatments, medication? What are your thoughts and views as a medical practitioner?
Yeah, I think this is a straightforward question. Medicine and health practice should be a very universal practice, regardless of like race, gender, religion, and even whether you are unvaccinated or vaccinated. There should not be any discrimination. Because we've never had other forms of discrimination, whether one can smoke, one cannot smoke, whether one can consume alcohol, cannot consume alcohol, what is your sugar habits. So there's no discrimination in any form of practice. But we have to understand that certain wards are designed at the moment in times of crisis to be a COVID ward, non-COVID ward, etc. But yet again, cross infections can happen. We do not want to discount that. But there should not be any form of discrimination in terms of even coming to the point. I think we will definitely cross that. In terms of medicine, no way there should any form of discrimination. No healthcare practitioner should create that kind of discrimination. I think creating what I keep selling, I think out there is creating exclusivity will be a problem in healthcare. Healthcare has to be very inclusive. We have to look at it in the whole. It's a whole team, it's a whole country, it's a whole nation, it's a whole people. We never even discriminated the foreign workers and things. Everybody was offered the vaccine. Whether you were an expat, you were offered the vaccine at no cost. Because you see, we cannot go and save one people. We have to save everyone at that point. So discrimination is never the way to go. And in fact, I think the discrimination should not be also extended to, I think, things like facilities and services. I think that's one thing that definitely I think at this moment, I think the new government has to look at how to make sure that everybody is included. No one is excluded from it, because you have to understand there are a variety of positions of developing immunity. And when we realize that there is a variety of options to achieve immunity, that is when the problem becomes less easy. That's when we do not heckle each other in terms of, oh, you are not vaccinated, or you are infected, you are this, you are that. No, if you have immunity, then is.
Nak selit sekejap, Dok.
Boleh.
Apa ni? So secara kesimpulannya, bagi pendapat doktor, herd immunity ni tak boleh pakai lah.
Okay, I actually have a very simple thing to say about herd immunity. Bukan tak boleh pakai. I think memang kerajaan sendiri pun dah telah katakan herd immunity tidak akan dapat dicapai. And we were holding to this word for a long time.
Ya,
But
sebab DG pun katakan dia boleh transmit walaupun dah cucuk, dah burus, dia boleh transmit.
Betul. So what I will find, I akan define herd immunity is, I think I pernah cerita kepada some of my patients pun, is manusia ni dia bukan haiwan, dia bukan herd. Manusia ni menjalankan shared skill, shared service, they trade commodity, they trade skill. Berbanding dengan haiwan, katakan you ada 100 ekor biri-biri, sheep in dalam dekat Ampang, and then ada satu lagi, and then you vaccinate all of them, maka mereka ada immunity kelompok. Ataupun satu ekor biri-biri dalam tu mungkin tempang ada masalah kesihatan sedikit, selalu sakit, okay, then we vaccinate all the 99 and leave one so that the 99 protect. And then you have another herd of sheep in Klang, and they have the same issue. Two of the sheep there are sick, and you cannot vaccinate them. Mungkin dia ada immunity compromise issue ke apa, and dia hanya tunggu waktu untuk disembelih je. Okay, so both these herds are not integrating. These herds do not do trades. The only thing that happen is they will be brought to the slaughterhouse one day untuk disembelih.
So we are no sheep, huh?
We are not sheep.
We're not sheep, okay.
So we communicate, we interact, we do trade, we do business, we move around because we are a social animal. So when you want to bring that concept of immunity, it's very, very hard to achieve herd immunity because you cannot use the term if no one is safe until everybody is safe. But you must understand, Malaysia is not in Mars or in Jupiter. You are in a planet where Africa is only vaccinated maybe less than 5%. So you will brew new species if they don't get the vaccine. And if big countries have vaccine hoarding, they want to keep a huge stockpile and just inoculate and continuously inoculate to achieve a enormous amount of antibodies just to prove themselves right. You will still allow other countries to brew this, and are you doing trade with those countries? Every country does trade with each other. You could bring a virus through device, products, even though you're not moving. All of this is possible.
Sorry, Dok, saya tahu doktor sangat advocate apa kata, what you call this, like holistic medicine.
Yeah.
Bukan harapkan doktor ubat doktor je kan. Kena ada apa kata inisiatif kendiri untuk meningkatkan natural immunity. Jadi soalan saya ni, natural immunity ni, immunity semula jadi yang terbentuk secara semula jadi, boleh tak menjadi alternatif kepada herd immunity kambing?
Okay, so I think the jawapan is, you must understand that when you are exposed to any form of virus, I think your body builds antibodies to destroy dia punya structure of protein. So dia akan umpama macam dia tag. Bila dia tag tu, automatically dia akan kesan, oh benda ni ialah protein asing daripada badan yang tengah berlegar dalam badan, and we have to neutralize it and then destroy it. Okay, so one. Then bila benda tu berlaku, you develop antibodies in your body secara naturally. Okay, that is one way. So vaccination introduces an artificial position of immunity. So you introduce the virus into your muscle, or you use the new technologies that we have, where we're using a viral vector platform, mRNA platform, to sort of produce certain protein particles, so that your body, when the real fight comes, when the real virus coming, your body already know how to work and destroy them. So nature.
Ada satu doktor selebriti yang famous gila. Dia kata natural immunity ni lepas 3-6 bulan habis kosong, zero, back to square one. Betul ke tak betul?
No, there is no proof to say that natural immunity is inferior compared to artificial immunity. But I have to look at it. I will go back to my question. So there is no such thing as immunity is immunity. That's all. We will develop immunity, and the immunity boleh cascade down. Sebab bagi contoh, immunity, our body's immunity is very, very talented. This is a billion years of evolution immunity.
No,
Your DNA is
God given, superior.
Yeah, it's nature given to adapt for the survival of the species. So that's why when you even give breastfeeding and everything, you are transforming natural immunity from the mother to the child. That happens. You're passing down the information, and genetically you're having this blueprint to print and defend yourself. And your body knows, okay, which are like the probiotics, which is the ones that are not good for you, which is good for you. So your body works with a symbiotic position with this kind of virus, bacteria. In fact, you know not, you have more bacteria in your body than your own cells. 10-folds of bacteria, more bacteria in your body than your own human cells.
Oh.
You can go and search it. So coming back to that, let me finish first, then I will go on. So coming back to it, you cannot say that your own natural immunity is inferior than artificial immunity. So one who is infected with COVID also shows that they have significant immunity with the use of antibody testing. I think we can see, and we should measure. We should continuously conduct our own homegrown studies, because we have a lot of people already been vaccinated. If I were to see our vaccination rate at the moment, allow me to see, I think we have a very, very huge amount. So stated here, 18.9 million people dah dapat dose pertama already in this country. So that is a huge amount already for our country, who actually really sped up the immunity punya, the vaccination punya task force. And not to forget that, as our cases linger dalam 20,000 setiap hari, by end of next week or 2 weeks time, you possibly have 2 million people who have infected by COVID and got natural immunity. So when a healthcare system have to look at, we have to look it into coming into both direction. Natural immunity, jimat cost for some, because vaccines are expensive, overly priced at this moment, because a hepatitis vaccine might probably cost you 10 ringgit or 20 ringgit only. Compared to the COVID-19 vaccine, which is actually sold at the moment by private centers for about between 320 to 380 ringgit. So that's almost like divided by 280 ringgit for a vaccine. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. Okay, so if you compare, so when we look at it, we have to go into both direction. One, the people who are highly at risk, golongan, they call it the golongan rentan, like have hypertension, umur berusia, diabetes, and everything. We want to protect them fast, because if they get sick, if they're not vaccinated, their risk is very high, and we do not know whether our ICU capacity can cope with them. And then we have the lower risk groups, which is the younger adults, who have more robust immunity untuk defend themselves. So it has to go in double way combination. So you were saying a question.
Yeah, doctor, what you're saying, if we are hearing you correctly, we are understanding you correctly, is that the vaccine cannot be a be-all and all approach, right?
It should not be.
Yes, it should be a multi-pronged approach. So yeah. I shouldn't tell myself that, okay, tomorrow or next week, I decide to make a beeline to a PPV to get myself vaccinated. But at the same time, I am still a chain smoker. I consume very high fat food, greasy food. KFC, McDonald's, my favorite food. I take nasi lemak. I consume nasi lemak every morning. I get very little exercise done. But you know what? I'm COVID-19 vaccinated. I have my medical cert to prove it to everyone here, to share it to everyone here, and I'm as healthy as I can be. Is that the right mindset that we should have? Because that is what I have been observing even within my circle of unfortunately family and friends. You know, even after taking the complete vaccination, I mean, it's completely their choice, but you know, they have not gone out to get their regular exercise. They haven't gotten their vitamin D. They haven't, you know, whether or not they consume 3 to 5 servings of vegetable and fruits. You know, we're not sure whether, you know, they are really having that holistic lifestyle approach.
Yeah, that is something that some top epidemiologists also agree, where we see that at the early of the onset of the pandemic, maybe back in March, April, there should have been a lot of awareness on boosting up our own immunity. So when you have natural infection or artificial infection through the vaccine, where you develop antibodies, you must understand that antibodies can be sharpened. A lymphatic system can be sharpened. Taking good food, a good lifestyle, good amount of exercise, all of this contribute to your immune system. Lymphatic drainage, all of this plays a factor. But if you were to just to at the age of, for example, I give a scenario, at the age of 20 years old, you said like all hell break loose. Let me just eat my nasi kandar, my roti canai, my kway teow, banjir, and everything every day, and said, oh, don't worry, I can afford a stent. Then that is again that's your choice. That's what I said. In healthcare, is your choice. We can only tell people like, please be moderate if you want to consume alcohol or cigarettes. But some people said, look, for me, I need 2 packs a day. As a physician, I only can tell you, please reduce. I cannot take and crush your cigarette box. I have no power to do that. I only can advise. Our task monumentally is to constantly educate people to improve, but not to actually block them. Because it's lifestyle is a choice. How you want to live, nobody can tell you how to live. There is some form of freedom and free will. Whether it's going to burden a tax system, whether it's going to burden a public system, this is where we see what have we done as a country, as a nation, as a collective people. How are we approaching our healthcare? Because if it's going to burden, yeah, we got to look at how much of sugar is allowed to consume. How have we educated people to be aware? Because this is a long journey. When the day the war comes, are your troops prepared? They're not.
No, if I could backtrack sikit, reverse balik pasal cerita herd immunity, antibody ni. Saya teringat doktor punya video satu tu buat pasal result antibody test. 3 of your patients. Saya ingat bacaan dia 83, 154, 200.5.
Yep.
Jadi menggunakan bacaan tu, saya pernah dengar ulasan daripada Dr. Kenny Yong.
Okay.
Dr. Kenny Yong ni dia kata dia dah kena teruk punya COVID sampai masuk ICU, sampai dia kata sumpah 4 kali almost mati because he stopped breathing for 4 times. So dia tak vaccinated.
Okay.
Terjangkit pada orang lain. Jadi post recovery dia pergi buat antibody
testing
250 macam yang dalam video doktor tu.
Okay.
So dia kata tak ada siapa boleh challenge aku. Tahu. Jadi sekarang ni dok, bolehkah kita gunakan alasan antibody natural ni, menggunakan doktor-doktor lain endorse, okay, pesakit ni tak perlu ambil vaccination shot sebab dia dah cukup antibody. Is it a legit excuse?
Okay. So good, very good question. Very good question in terms of the perspective of immunity. So you must understand again, the main goal is to achieve immunity against a specific virus at the moment. Like you have hepatitis B virus and stuff like that. You inoculate yourself, you dapat immunity. Because kebanyakan patient tak ada pun ambil hepatitis B punya vaksin yang dapat immunity. But you must understand in that position, that vaccine for hepatitis B is highly studied. 50-60 years kita ada data keselamatan and everything. So orang yakin lah ambil. Okay. Then we have a position that maybe in the next couple of weeks you achieve like 2 million people who have natural infection. They got the virus naturally. So when they get the virus naturally, they build a certain kind of sets of immunity, which some of it is still unknown to us. Kita boleh bandingkan immune system ni macam sistem ketenteraan. Ada tentera laut, ada tentera darat, ada special forces, ada risikan punya team, akan ada elite punya team, akan ada submarine, everything. The body is like that. There's so many ways. We have the natural killer cells, our memory cells, our macrophages, our lymphocytes, our innate and adaptive immune response is the 2 pokok. So what we know in that, the numbers that you mentioned about the antibody testing for the nucleocapsid and spike protein is the only thing we know at this moment, or maybe more is coming our way. Maybe scientists are going to research, labs are going to work and chunk more information where they can extract and see how the body is tackling the proteins and tengah neutralize them and then kill them. Neutralize tu macam-macam, macam kita pin dia bawah, kita tikam dekat bawah, positif cut, kita bawa. Okay, so when we see these antibodies, the only way, the simplest way of course is we have to do a random study lah. Kita ambil what is the majority of the population punya average. Yang dah mungkin dah dapat COVID and they have neutralizing antibodies, which they will have. What is the number? What is the average number? Apa kita punya ralat? Mungkin ada orang dapat 10. Mungkin ada orang macam Dr. Kenny dapat 250 ke atas. So we do not know whether the upper ticket is 250, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 or 10,000 or even 1 million. We do not know. So the upper border at the moment with the left offer with the list is more than 250. So at the moment, so maybe the only way to do is to do maybe some simple testing and see. Okay, after 3 months, after 6 months, because ada claim yang kata natural immunity jatuh. So maka kita kena tengok lah, jatuh ke tak? Jatuh sampai kosong ke? Jatuh tetap ada? Kalau tetap ada, maksudnya badan kita masih tengah membuat these immunoglobulins to neutralize this. So kita tak boleh downplay our natural immunity, and kita also cannot downplay the artificial immunity. So both of these will have to come to a standstill. But we also have to test people who are vaccinated and see how their immunity levels. Because kalau ada ketirisan 1% ataupun 5%, some people say, oh, effectiveness is 95%. Most probably another 5% is not working. So people yang inoculate daripada 100 orang, mungkin 5 orang dengan harapan cucuk dapat sijil and everything, rupa-rupanya tak ada immunity pun terbentuk. So that possibility is also there.
Sorry, saya teringat ada seorang I think selebriti tempatan lah. Rasanya dia dah fully vax, tapi dia dah 2 kali kena jangkitan COVID. Apa punya cerita tu? Betul Dr. Ulas?
Okay, that one is very simple. I think benda ni, banyak orang kena tahu that whether you are vaccinated or non-vaccinated, you boleh I wouldn't want to use the word dijangkiti lah. Jangkiti tu nampak very very harsh term, mungkin dihinggapi oleh the virus. So virus tu boleh hinggap dekat you, dekat kulit you. Kalau you buat swab test kat tangan you, mungkin ada COVID punya virus. And maybe they do a swab test in the nose or oral cavity also can. But what you must understand is whether the virus can replicate that fast and infect your system, especially respiratory system. Itu yang kita risau. So bila ada yang individu tu kata dia pernah complete vaccination and dapat COVID 2 kali, mungkin dia dapat COVID pertama sekali sebelum dia kena vaccinated, lepas tu dia vaccinate. So mungkin immunity dia naiklah to the roof lah. Immunity dia bagus lah. And he wanted the boosting. Then he still got infected. Apa dia maksudkan infection? Very simple. Your body is very intelligent. Katakan virus tu masuk ke rongga hidung. COVID virus akan ambil mungkin 5 to 6 days akan mula nampak pattern dia macam you deteriorate ke, ada demam-demam, baru dia boleh duplicate. So bila duplikasi tu berlaku, you boleh calik the hidung and see what is the viral loading. So itu mungkin ada CT value and everything. So kalau you buat RT akan keluar just positif saja. Tapi kalau you buat macam PCR, you can see okay dalam swapan tu berapa banyak partikel ada. So tapi kalau ada banyak partikel ke kurang partikel, itu jadi isu because you ada antibody. So imagine that this is in a system. So bila dia masuk hinggap ke dalam hidung, badan you buat swab, I think the badan understand, oh ada infection, dia akan mula keluarkan lendir, mucus and everything untuk cuba memakan virus tu. This is the first one, your sel darah putih ni akan respond and you mungkin akan sneeze because badan ni nak cuba singkirkan virus tu keluar. That's as simple as what the virus wants to do. So dia nak cuba flush benda tu keluar. Tapi mungkin ada 2-3 yang escape. Bila 2-3 yang escape tu, because you ada antibody system, you mesti ada antibody yang tengah berlegar dalam darah kan. And dia kira macam polis peronda lah. Dia buat rondaan, ada geng ni, dengar ada label ni, ada geng, satu-satu geng dia. Ada job dia nampak. And then automatic dia akan sound, okay, adakah kita boleh attack or we will have to wait to call our HQ ataupun balai polis daerah dia akan panggil. So this is where the lymphatic system and everything work. Kalau dia punya sistem tu is very traumatic, dia mesti dah masuk ke dalam paru-paru, dia akan cepat-cepat alarm the bigger glands tu cepat-cepat cari kita punya memory. Tengok pada data balik, okay, ni geng-geng ni apa kesalahan dia, apa cara nak to kill them, create this antibody. Of course dalam kita punya wall, in your tonsils, in your thymus gland, in your lymphatic system, in your lungs, etc. akan terus keluarkan all the memory cell akan keluarkan, okay, nak hentam virus ni, cara ni keluarkan antibodies. So the antibodies will go and neutralize them and kill them. So this person would not have a long case of infection and everything. Dia takkan pergi rosakkan paru-paru and stuff like that. So that is the way the body responds. The body is very intelligent to do all of this. One who does not understand immunity, this is where I would tell people that they need to go back to school and learn all of this back, especially coming from our fraternities. We cannot just listen. We have to go back and unlearn and relearn all of things. And we cannot just take it from just absolutely just bluntly, oh, this is not safe, or we need a double boost, we need a triple shot. You have to understand the data first. Everybody is individual.
Yeah, Doctor, I think it's important for us, for each and every one of us, to really take our health into our own hands, right? Instead of just relying on drugs or medical treatments. And I also want to touch on the subject on the group of individuals whom I feel that whom we haven't been speaking much about. We know that this global health crisis have caused really far-reaching impacts in the sense of destruction of economies, really the loss of livelihoods. But I think there's one group of people here whom we haven't been speaking a lot about, and it's our children.
Yep.
If there anyone on the call who's or in this live session who's not aware of this interesting statistic, the children population in Malaysia, they are made up of close to 30% of the population.
Wow.
So that's a large number of children that we have in Malaysia. So I mean, my concern is that you see, I don't have any children yet, but I have a godson. I would like to think of him as a godson. Just like to share a very short story about this godson of mine. He's only 3.5 years old, and last week his mother bought him a pupa, a chrysalis, for him to look after for a few days before it turns into a butterfly. So after 6 days, the pupa in a jar turned into a butterfly, which he then released, right? And as he released the butterfly from the jar, he was admiring how beautiful the butterfly is. And my mother asked him, what would you like to name your butterfly? And you know what his response was? He says, this is MCO. He named the butterfly MCO, a 3.5-year-old. So when I watched the video, I was filled with so much of, I laughed a lot, but at the same time, I felt very sad as well. Like, I mean, if you look at the butterfly if you look at its delicate features and the delicate characteristics of butterfly, it signifies freedom, beauty, a lot of nice, positive, feel-good things, right? How is it that a child can link MCO, movement control order, to a butterfly, right? And I mean, that's pretty amazing, but it's very worrying and it's quite sad to a certain extent. And I feel that, with all this, rolling out of vaccination passport and restriction of movement and restriction of access to public amenities and, the simplest things that children partake in recreational activities like going to the park. I mean, kids who are not vaccinated, should they be deprived from enjoying this access? And it could be maybe a 12-year-old boy who wants to walk into a shop to maybe buy food for himself after school, but because he's not vaccinated, he's denied of entry into the shop. So what are your thoughts, Doctor, on how all these policies, how would it affect our children and basically our leaders of tomorrow, the future generation? Your thoughts, Doctor?
I think to begin with, maybe in the future ministry, you have ministry for children first. because the kids are voiceless, and as you mentioned just now, 30% is significantly a big number, and I feel that we all know over this past 15-16 months that kids would be, especially the kids who are healthy kids, maybe they have to be some concentration of kids who are immunocompromised and have certain healthcare issues. We should be more cautious of them. But there are also other kids who are denied to go to the parks, denied to access even their own condominium or even apartment or even the PPR flats playground because of lockdown. So and they know they are the least of risk. They have a very robust immune system, undamaged because of, not to say no poor lifestyle of like cigarette, alcohol, and poor over consumption of eating. They are technically very pure and very robust immune system, and we have neglected them from school, from running and daily life, and they are technically living in entrapment. And we should give some leeway to this, because they are technically the voiceless, because everybody is just only interested in business, in trade, getting operations up and down and running. But these young ones are really left out. They have no one to speak out for them. They seem to be, there's no ministries around available. That's what I said. Maybe they need to have the Ministry of Children where their voice is heard, because they are also a citizen of a country. And you mentioned the scenario of a 12 years old, and I highly agree with that. I'll give you even a simple scenario. Let's up the age limit a bit. Let's put a 14 years old who in the past 2 weeks they've eased out some leeways to go into sport shops and dine-ins and stuff. So a 14 years old technically has an IC. Maybe when I was 14, I was still available to go to the shop and buy some groceries. Or let's say he wants to go to the sport shop and buy a racket. Since you can play singles now, I give a scenario. So he's denied going there because he is not vaccinated. He doesn't have maybe a My Sejahtera to prove that he is vaccinated. So he's denied. So technically, a citizen is denied. So we should not look like ourselves like damn big because we are more senior of age. It's the same thing. And this also goes out to the individuals who already have antibodies, who maybe were even a category 4 victim or 5 victim, who actually came out of a ventilator and who has a significantly high antibody, which protects himself from the virus, but now he is denied. He is denied to go into a restaurant. His whole journey in the wards maybe was already traumatic enough to begin with. Can you imagine being intubated for maybe 30 days, 60 days, 100 days, maybe you will still survive, but he's denied of his simple rights that he wants to go out. No, he doesn't have a vaccine certificate, so he cannot go, but he has antibodies. So this is where I feel that the inclusivity of people, they need to develop more inclusivity in the app, where these people who have antibodies, just like other countries, they have, you want to move, you either show that you are vaccinated twice, you either choose to be quarantined, or prove that you have been exposed to the SARS-CoV-2 virus and have antibodies as a proof where you are immune. So the end point is everybody is having immunity. That is the end goal. So one who chooses to be vaccinated, we should allow them to be vaccinated. One who chooses not to be vaccinated and already develop antibodies, we should look into them and see whether they have significant antibodies. And those who are immunity compromised, that means they are having certain anaphylactic shock. I had a patient who went for Umrah and got a pneumococcal vaccine, and she developed anaphylactic shock. I had a woman who was pregnant 12 weeks ago, got ATT, she fainted. And she have done it and she fainted twice. And she said, no, this is a vaccine injury and I'm not willing. and I'm having a 16 months pregnancy. So there are multiple scenarios where we should hear, and physicians must be given the discretion to say, I think it's safe for you to proceed, or I think you should hold. Please practice the SOPs, because again and again and again, you must understand that if you are vaccinated, you are protected, but you need to check and see whether you're really protected. Antibodies, we approve. If you are vaccinated, can you spray? Yes, you can spray. You can sneeze, you can cough, anything you can spray. You could rub your nose in any surface, and another person can touch and can be transmitted. So the vaccination story, whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, you still can transmit. What vaccination only does at the moment is to protect you from the challenge of keeping our hospitals still available for people who really need to use hospital. That's what we want to reduce. Yep. Diana.
Saya tertarik doktor tadi cakap pasal kadar jangkitan transmisi di kalangan kanak-kanak sangat rendah, kan? Jadi yang saya tahu kadar kematian ataupun jangkitan di kalangan kanak-kanak daripada umur 12 tahun hingga 18 tahun bawah 1%. Jadi usaha untuk memvaksinkan anak-anak muda kita, anak kita daripada umur 12 hingga 15 tahun ni, adakah dia wajar?
Susah nak komen pasal ni. I really cannot. I wish we have the purest of the granular data to discuss about this. But I would say that until we really see the data, the honest data, that is when we need to see the judgment. How many of the kids who were warded, how many of the kids needed ventilators, how many of the kids recovered, sat at home and recovered? Because we know that this is kids produce a lot of natural killer cells to actually neutralize the virus. So the immune system is more robust than many of the adults.
Doc, I just want to quote what you've said before. Doktor pernah cakap improvement in health, assurance, change in lifestyle and maintenance of health. Ini adalah paksi kepada usaha perlindungan kendiri, kan? Boleh tak doktor sharekan kepada kami apakah peranan utama, peranan yang sebenarnya seorang pengamal perubatan?
I think okay. Jawab soalan you, Lena. I think apa yang akan simulate very senang je. Kesihatan ni is something which is a discipline. You practice what you do, and when it becomes routine, you will know what to take and what to avoid, and that becomes like a mantra untuk everybody. So learning that mantra, learning that discipline is what you need to achieve. So bila you are eating well, bila you are doing exercise, whether you are keeping yourself physically active and everything, you sleep well, that becomes your body's discipline. So when you are cautious of what you're doing, technically you have a good health. But if you choose to slack, again, nobody can force you not to slack. It's again of choice, because we have certain stress, work-life balance, responsibilities, commitment. Some people tend to drift, and our task as physicians, task paling penting is untuk kita pull back, bring back the alignment, whether rapidly or slowly. And that's one thing. It's not always about just doing a quick fix. When you keep doing the quick fix, what happens is then you tend to depend on drugs. But you have to understand lifestyle is a holistic approach. Whether it's our immune system, whether it's our daily function, all of it has to be inclusive. You cannot segregate. Just by vaccinated, you're going to be free. Might not know. Next year, because of poor lifestyle, you might get a heart problem. Next year, because of poor lifestyle, your sugar is very high, you might have amputation because you choose to neglect. So when we realize this, why is the world having a lot of this? Is how many people are really strong and how many people are really fit, and who are we saving? These are the people also. This also akan jadi the question in the future. So healthcare has gone a robust change. This pandemic is an absolute wake-up call to people to ask ourselves, how fit are we for the war? Boleh hantar pergi perang, fit tak untuk pergi to the medan? How many soldiers you got? How many people are really fit? Or if you really go to war, there's only 10,000 Malaysian or 100,000 Malaysian who can support our army. This is the things that we saw in the past, in World War I, World War II. And this is where now you start seeing people, how robust is our health? Are we just having hospitals and healthcare system just to allow people to get sick? Healthcare system should be, it's called healthcare, it's not sick care.
Okay, Doktor, kita nak kena wrap up dah kerana di penghujung perancangan. Apakah pesanan ataupun nasihat Dr. Roland kepada semua fellow medical doctors seperjuangan Dr. Roland di Malaysia ini?
I think nasihat saya tak perlu kepada medical people. I think medical people are already intelligent to understand, to learn and unlearn and learn by message. I think my message lebih pada the Malaysian people out there. I think the past couple of weeks kita nampak banyak sangat kekangan and segregation among our people, especially macam some when this vaccination issue, I would say that our vaccination process is very, very well done. Good job. I still have got to say good job to the new health minister. His previous job was very well planned, but we see some issues where the vaccine goes, the cases go, and a lot of corporate companies are feeling like very compulsive to tell all their staff to force. Sort of like giving a soft reminder to push them towards vaccination. They are using certain things like quoting from Akta Keselamatan Pekerja 1994 and everything to sort of like heckle the stuff. But they fail to realize that the vaccination does not protect their workforce. It only protects the individual. So maksudnya, kalau individu tu semua dah vaccinate, kalau ada segelintir, maybe 1 or 2% who cannot vaccinate, who choose to wait because it's an emergency use authorization, or who choose to say no because of some history that they have or certain past experience of vaccination, we should actually respect them and not label people. Fine, if they want to take, good. If they are not ready to take, when they want to take, let them take, because you will achieve that 80%, 90% target. I'm very confident that Malaysia will achieve that, even 80% target of adult population vaccination. I am very confident Malaysians will achieve that. But then what to move forward? And using this to label staff and putting mandates that you boleh dibuang kerja, I think is absolutely wrong, because then they don't understand the science. The science clearly shows again that vaccination protects you from chronic hospitalization, chronic demand for ICU and ventilation and stuff. But can you be infected? Yes. Can vaccinated people be infected? Yes. So if you have the office, everybody 100% vaccinated, can they be infected with COVID? Also can. So then the Akta cannot be used. You cannot claim that Akta Keselamatan Pekerja, you're abusing the act on your own demand. And this is very threatening to a lot of people who feel that they are a bit on the fence sitters. Not they're against the vaccine. They just feel that, you know what, I want to see more data. When I'm more confident, I want to take it, because they are not against a typhoid vaccination if you're working in a restaurant. They were not against a hepatitis B vaccination if they're in. And some of them already have immunity. So even that has to be carried as some merit that they got antibodies to fight it. I went to the battle. I dah pergi perang dan balik dah. And you tell me you want to send me for a small training? Like that's the thing. So that's one thing. Kids need to be included. This is a plea to the government. Kids need to be heard. No one is talking for the kids. If there are 30% of the comments, that means there are 9 million of them technically out there. 9 million of them. That's a huge number of them. They should be heard. And we should still protect the vulnerable people. If studies carry out in the next couple of months, we see that there is a demand for them to be given a booster and stuff, and we see the immune system actually take a drop, then there must be some consideration for those kids. Don't waste money for the sake of just giving everybody a bullet. No, we have to be very tactical. We have to be targeted, target specific. That is the skill of people who do healthcare management like myself. We have to, when you're going to war, you have to think like a general. the attack can come from anywhere, but we need to focus where you have your artilleries can be placed at the right place, because then only you can win. If not, you will be all over the place. And what we see,
I love your pragmatism, Doc.
Then the artilleries are all over the place, and you will lose. You will lose. So we've got no time to waste, because we absolutely lost a lot of time. We are now almost like, maybe I would say 60%, 70% there in the vaccination route. I hope that in the next couple of 2 weeks or 3 weeks time, we see the numbers drop. We hope that the infectivity rate, the admissions into hospital drop. If the numbers of transmission is still high, that's okay, but we need to make sure that the hospitals are still available for people to access, so that when that numbers drop, at least the frontliners will have some room to breathe after a long battle. So it's always the frontliners are like champions in front there, but it's the generals who call the shot. So we have to get the best generals out there to make the right call. The most experienced ones who know how we have to use multiple approach. A single approach is there's no silver bullet in this. So
Doctor, just to add something, to wrap up our session today, there is this saying that real heroes don't wear capes, right? They may be people like yourself wearing stethoscope, speaking the truth, standing up for what is right, and encouraging people to live holistically and to make informed choices. And MFM is very, very grateful and extremely honored to have this collaboration with you today. Thank you so much for having us. I think it's been a really fruitful session, hopefully for our audience. And do you have any other parting words? And how about you, Liana?
No, I love you. Thank you for speaking up for us, for the voiceless, and for the pro-choicers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. I feel that I think everybody should be heard. No one should be left out. I think the more we leave people out from the plan, we leave one soldier behind. Whether they were the ones who would take the bullet for you, or the ones who would the ones who need the protection. So we never know where it's coming. So the more people we have, the better the chances are to combat this and come on. So I think inclusivity is the key in the system. I mean, if one who had their health better in the past 9 months, who had the sugar control in the past 9 months, who had maybe a son or daughter who had parents who had hypertension, who was actually taking a simple effort to monitor their mom or dad's hypertension and the sugar level at home, because they could not get access to the hospitals, because everybody gets pushed extended medical checkup, because the main core system is really bugged down to manage all the emergency COVID management. It's a monumental task that they take. So if they can settle the small stuff, we could settle the big problem. So healthcare is everybody's task and everybody's duty. We should not allow the discount, like, oh, you know what? This is a Saturday, this is your day to bang as much ice cream you want. Okay, you guys have a good day. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Right.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks again, Doctor.
Bye.
Thanks.